Heavenly Father God, thank you so much for this opportunity to come together and to discuss with your servant. And we are just so grateful and honored that you are here with us and that you are amongst us. So speak to us and speak through us in Jesus' name. Amen. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of What's the Message? I am your host, Claudia Allen, and I am, of course, as always, accompanied by my co-host, the one and only Carmela Monk Crawford. And if you notice, she's got a different background going on back there. Carmela, what's going on? Why are you not in your regular spot?
I know I'm out here in these streets, you know what I'm saying? I'm out here, I'm visiting my family. I'm in Arkansas today, and so I'm a little different. And I got the country shabby chic background in the back, but I'm good. I'm here. And I can't wait to talk to our friend here this morning.
Absolutely. Yeah. Listen, it's always good when you can get out and get to family. You know, COVID has kind of eliminated that. I know I haven't seen my family at all in person in the year 2020. That is very unusual for me and for them. And so they're very much so like, yo, when are you coming? When are you coming? But, you know, just by way of safety reasons, you know, sometimes you just got to take precautions. So I'm so happy that you were able to take some time and get down there to spend with your family. Y'all, we here at Message, we have the awesome opportunity to support a lot of different ministries, to sponsor a lot of different events. And most recently, we've had the opportunity to partner with the National Action Network for the 57th the commemoration of the 57th anniversary of the March on Washington that happened a couple of weeks ago. As you all know, Carmela and I were present, accounted for, and hype. And we've also had the opportunity to sponsor various businesses like we did with Gary Graham's psychology and counseling initiative, as well as some up and coming events, right? So for example, we are sponsoring the Conscience Justice Council, I believe that's coming up next week, put on by the Regional Conference Pearl Directors. But this week, it was lit because we had the opportunity to sponsor and partner with an up and coming conference, even though it's not called that, and we will get into why. But this thing is called the Next NormalX. This is something that was kind of invented and hosted by our guest this morning, and that is Marquis Johns. He is the director and head evangelist, if you would, for the Southeastern California Conference of Seventh-day Adventists. He's the director of the Adventist Community Services Department and the Prison Ministries Department. And if you saw this flyer, I mean, we have been sharing it. There are nothing but heavy hitters on this thing, except for me. So everybody on here is bomb, just X my face out of it. All right. I mean, you have Dr. Carlton Byrd, you have the Bishop Walter Scott Thomas, the Howard John Wesley, the W. Franklin Richardson, the Dr. Abraham Jules, like the Dr. Jesse Wilson, who is also a huge contributor and supporter of us here at Message. I mean, it was just like one after the other. How do you do it? Like, so I am so excited to really get into the weeds of what this experience is and will potentially continue to be. and as well as what kind of went behind it. Why are we doing this? Why are we talking about what exactly we're talking about? So I want to introduce our guest to you officially. He has been on the podcast before, and he is the only person to return for a second time. My Lord. And so I am so excited. Marquis Johns was born in Los Angeles, California. He currently serves as the conference evangelist for the Black Ministries Department of the Southeastern California Conference of Seventh-day Adventists and director of the Adventist Community Services for the conference, like I said. Now, prior to receiving God's call to ministry, he dropped out of school, spent time in jail, and sold drugs. He also became a chart-topping rap artist. Listen, his song is on a video game. I'm not going to put him out there, all right? But I absolutely knew Marquis before I knew Marquis, all right? Now, in 2002, through the power of prayer, the Holy Spirit spoke God's call on Pastor John's life, and he accepted God's salvation and the call to ministry. Now, anyone who spends any kind of time with Pastor Johns will soon realize that his major focus in life is evangelism. He believes in using a liberal methodology to present a conservative theology. My Lord, we can get into that. This methodology has proven very successful as he has won over the past 20 years of his ministry, close to 1,000 souls just by his lonesome, all right? Now, he is in great demand as a speaker. He has spoken all over North America, but as well as internationally. And he is just a powerhouse teacher. When I first actually moved out here to Maryland, Pastor John's church was the church that I attended. At least for the first 2-3 years of my stay here. He was my pastor. Him and Pastor Brenda Billingsley, they were my first pastors out here. And so I have firsthand knowledge and experience knowing that he's not just a charismatic speaker. This is not somebody that you're just going to get a whole lot of energy out of. This is somebody with depth, substance, and teaching. I tell him all the time, I to this day remember the Holy Spirit series that he did on just the amount of research. It all, sticks in my head. Now, he has been on a variety of television programs, including Dare to Dream on the 3ABN network, as well as Hope Channel programming. And he has a Bachelor's of Science degree in church leadership from Oakwood University and a Master's of Arts in Religion with a concentration in Metropolitan Ministry from Washington Adventist University. He is married to my friend, Rhonda Billingsley, and they have one daughter together, Phoenix Quinn Johns. Okay, now I just want you to know her middle name is not in the introduction. It don't have to be because that's my shawty. Okay, he also has 3 sons. Okay, Manad, Justice, and Solemn Lincoln, who also live in California. His love for ministry is fueled by his life motto, Memento Mori. You're gonna have to, I don't know if I even said that right. Remember, you must die. All right. Y'all, welcome to the stage, the platform, the Zoom channel. My friend, my brother, my mentor, Pastor Marquis D. Johns. Homie.
My. I was hoping that the camera could pan on me so I could strike the usual pastoral pose when you're reading the bio.
Glory to God, glory to God, glory to God.
And it's dope. It's good. Sometimes you hear people read a bio, it's good, but it's also good when somebody that you know and love is introducing you so they don't need the paper. But for those who don't know, you often use it in order to give them a feel for what's happening. But it's good to see you, Claudia. Listen, I know we're going to get into it. Carmela, the child destroyed the Next NormalX last night. And because I'm about 20 years her senior, I can say that the child destroyed this place. Do you hear me? Like, I mean, you
Tell it.
Yeah. Whoa. Okay. All right. I just had to get that out. I had to get that out on the front end.
Show. This
on the
is
front
my
end. Yes, ma'am. Yes,
show.
yes.
You don't get to come on here and say things of this nature. All right. Lie to the people like that. All right. Now listen, Carmela and I received correspondence from you saying, y'all, I want to do the Next NormalX. All right. We're like, what is that? So tell the people, what is the Next NormalX?
Well, first of all, I want to thank Carmela. You and I did talk, but Carmela and I have been friends over the last several years. And as I was brainstorming and just ideating, if you will, I was able to call, I have Carmela's number in my phone. I called Carmela. I was like, Carmela, so look, I got this idea. I want to do this thing. And she's like, Marquis, I'm in the grocery store. And I was like, I know, but it can't wait. It can't wait. I gotta tell you about this. And she was like, okay, all right, okay. I'm in. And so thank you, Carmela, for allowing me to accost you while you were doing your grocery shopping and for hopping on board. I really, really do appreciate it.
Costco, man. Ministry has to happen at any point. All right.
Yes. We have to be instant in season and out of season. But I just definitely wanted to thank Message Magazine and the person of Carmela Crawford, as well as the online content manager, Claudia Marion Allen, for the support of this initiative from ideation to execution. And so where the idea came from was watching the civil unrest that was taking place in the United States of America and knowing that the regional work in the Seventh-day Adventist context was called into existence to be the leaders of situations like that. We are, and we alone, have the eschatological understanding of who the beast power is in Revelation chapter 13 and its dragoness laws. And so when we see these things happening, we should not be, although our prophet told us they would come as overwhelming surprises, we shouldn't have been surprised. We should have doubled down on all that we know to do, and been at the forefront of leading that charge. But unfortunately, we were not. Now, that's not to take anything away from those who led marches. My son in the ministry, Marcus Larivo, was on the forefront up in Lincoln, Nebraska. One of my big brothers and mentors, Dr. Carlton Bird, did some things in Huntsville, Alabama. My brother, Michael Kelly, my brother and my current pastor, Pastor Michael Kelly, led a march in Riverside and Moreno Valley specifically. And so I don't want to discount the William Lees and the various individuals, the Jason Ridleys, who actually participated in marches in their various cities, but participation and the ability to have been what Isaiah declared we should be, the head and not the tail, are two completely different things. And so I was kind of sitting and thinking like, man, look, this was all just blowing up in my head. And then to be completely honest and transparent with you, I started to notice the response of those at the head of our work. And I felt like, while I appreciated the attempt and the effort, there was something that was lacking. And so that, coupled with my new position as the evangelist for the Black Ministries Department of Southeastern California Conference, shout out Black Ministries Department, and my VP, Elder Robert Edwards. My pastors out here were saying, hey, we need some training, we need some workshops, we need something to figure out how we're going to minister. And everybody kept saying, in this new normal, in this new normal, in this new normal. And I was like, nah, we're not looking for new normal. New normal would suggest that we're trying to respond and be reactionary. And then boom, it just birthed. One of our pastors said it one time as we were talking, Dr. Delroy Brooks. He said something about next normal. And as I was like, the Lord was downloading stuff into my mind, that concept hit me because it suggested proactivity versus reactivity. And so boom, the next normal was born, and everybody said, oh, it's going to be a good conference. And I was like, I don't want it to be a conference. I want it to be an experience first and foremost. And so then we tagged on the X. And what the X suggests is that, number one, it's not a conference, it's an experience. And secondarily, as we're moving toward the next normal, there is the implied unknown. And we all know from the X is an implied and an implicit unknown variable. And so here you have the next normal X. And so I was able to get on the phone. There is no one on the Next NormalX that did not receive a personal phone call from me. I didn't call secretaries. Like I accosted Carmela at Costco. I accosted Ivan Williams. I accosted Carlton Bird. Go ahead, Carmela.
So I want to get into the meat of, there's two things that you said. Number one, there was something that you thought based on what you were very specific about beliefs and I guess sort of an orientation. And it sounded as though you were saying there's a relevance that we wanted to assert, but maybe we didn't get to put that out there. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, talk to me about what is that? If you could distill that and give it to it, what is that relevance in that particular contribution that you think should have been made?
We're Black. And we need to do things like Black people do things. We need to stop trying to do things like Europeans do things, because the demographic and the communities that we're called to minister to, they don't respond to what Europeans are doing. And we haven't had the success I think we could have if we embraced the gifting that comes from being people of African descent, and specifically the things, the trials, the tribulations, as well as the triumphs that we've experienced as the descendants of slaves here in America. There is a uniqueness not only to our walk, but to our talk, to how we worship, to how we do everything that we do. And the more and more we continue to put Eurocentricity on top of it, the more irrelevant it becomes to those we've been called to minister to. So the decided bent was Black everything, all Black everything, unapologetically Black, 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 Black. And I said 2 more times, Black, Black. And so what I saw was, again, because of our denomination's close alignment with a Eurocentric theology, oftentimes our stuff comes off as clunky and not as fluid. Sometimes we look like Black people trying to do white dance moves, and that's weird. We don't got to do nothing. I mean, like if we just all started saying, hey, like right now, if you let yourself go, Carmela, look, there it is. See, you trying to fight it, Carmela, but the reality is there is a way that we just respond.
Yeah.
There's a way that we just respond to things that I think that we need to be able to infuse into our approach to evangelism and ministry.
All right, and let me just ask this last follow-up question, because there is, all right, and you know, our context, we're talking from a Seventh-day Adventist context, because that's who we are. You are a Seventh-day Adventist minister, and Seventh-day Adventists have the reputation for being one of the most, if not the most diverse religious denominations in North America. And so we do have a context that is very fluid in terms of different peoples. Give me some specifics about the things that you think should be, you know, I get the Black, but talk to me about what does that mean? How does that play out in terms of a response to the things that we're seeing happen?
So, all right now, Carmela, you know me. So you ask, I'm gonna tell you. The reality is we have to stop pretending that our denomination, and as we speak about our denomination, is interested in what's happening to Black people in America. The responses that we get from our general conference leadership is anemic at best, right? When Black people are being shot down in the streets.
And I'm coming back to you right here.
Okay.
Because I agree. I'm hearing what you're saying, but I'm asking you for the specifics about what it looks like in our context. And I agree that there's a different thing, but I don't hold. Can I? No. I don't hold white people accountable for not being able to do Black authentically like I can do Black. And
here's what I want to hold them accountable for demonizing it when we do.
All right. So talk to me about what it should look like.
Yeah. So here is the thing. I think that what it should look like, we can't even really discuss because it's been so demonized at our unconscious and potentially subconscious level. Whenever we try to be authentically Black, we're running up against a brick wall that is almost imaginary that we're going to have to break through, and then convene some legitimate conversations that let us know that it's okay if we want to express ourselves as Black people. And so while I hear what you're saying, what I am pushing back against is the ability to give that expression is hamstrung by the fact that it's been demonized for so long. Okay. We think that, I love that our conservative Adventists tell us that when we wear certain clothes, we're looking like the world, but yet a suit and a tie, number one, a tie is a phallic symbol created by Roman Catholicism. Number two, business suits is what the world wears when they do business to keep and enforce racial policies. And so let's not play this game of when you look Black or when you dress the way that we have created a culture in America that is about racist policies and systemic racism, that's somehow bad and demonic. But if I look like a white person, if I talk like a white person, if I worship like a white person, if I don't clap, if I don't have drums, if I don't do those things, it's not that we're not allowed to do that, but we have been demonized for doing it. When our general conference president stands up at a general conference session and says, don't clap, when the Bible tells us clap your hands, and the Bible says that when Jesus returns, the actual trees will clap their hands, I struggle with that. And so when you ask me, what does it look like? It looks like being incarnational and being comfortable in urban settings and not trying to come into urban settings and push something that is not germane to the culture that we exist in. And so when you ask me what it looks like, the reality is it looks like a person like myself. And let me just use me. So I went to North Philadelphia Seventh-day Adventist Church. North Philadelphia, my zip code 19121, had the 6th largest recidivism rate in a state that had per 100,000 people, more people incarcerated than the United States of America and 12 other founding NATO countries. Did you catch that? Need I say it again? My community had the 6th largest recidivism rate in a state that had more people incarcerated than the United States per 100,000 than the United States and 12 under founding NATO countries. Mm-hmm. You know what it looked like? It looked like me having on some jeans and some sneakers and walking in my community. And when the brothers are smoking weed and when the brothers is drinking and cussing and listening to Meek Mills, I know who Meek Mills is. I'm not demonizing Meek Mills. I had an opinion about Meek Mills being put in jail for popping a willie when popping willies is part of the Black culture in North Philadelphia as a city, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's what it looks like. It looks like the ability to create an evangelistic approach that speaks to that context and not come with an evangelistic approach that was informed and popularized by people like Billy Graham, who didn't believe that America was responsible for repudiating racist policies. That from a person like Billy Graham, who didn't believe that we should even be putting into effect social situations and social programs to uplift people who were affected by systemic racism. So that's what it looks like to me in idea. But then I think that we need more people like some of the individuals I've been talking to, London Ingram, your very own Claudia Allen, Tiffany Llewellyn, Dr. Sidney Freeman, Corey Johnson, individuals who are saying, listen, it's time for us to break out of this. We're going to allow someone else to tell us how to reach people, like you said, that they have no interest in or know very little about.
One of the things I'm wondering, man, as you're talking, what I'm seeing, at least within Christianity at large right now, is this press for multiculturalism and diversity, right? Mm-hmm. So a lot of churches are not seeking to really kind of do all things Black. Mm-hmm. They're really trying to say, how can we all come together regardless of race? And actually, it's how can we cross race? How can we cross gender, sexual orientation, even religion, right? So non-denominational churches are actually on the rise right now. People do not want to be affiliated with one thing or the other. They really kind of just want to be together, coexisting, tolerating. So how then do we say, okay, well, we need to come up with an evangelistic model that's all things Black, when it appears as though the world is saying, well, we're trying to do all things inclusive, regardless of any kind of classifier or identifying label.
That's good. And that says that they have the ability and have had the time to come up with something that is their unique expression and contribution. Right. And so when you look at people who are now trying to say we want to be inclusive, what we have to take into consideration is we have to allow the LGBTQI community to come up with their own cultural expression of Christianity and then invite them to the table, quite possibly to allow them to influence what it looks like in your context. Right. What I am arguing for is the ability for Black Seventh-day Adventist Christians to say this is who we are unapologetically, and this is now our contribution to our denomination. Let me read this to you. Dr. James Cone, in an NPR interview, in 2008 said this. He said that at its core, Black liberation theology is an effort in a white dominated society in which Black has been defined as evil to make the gospel relevant to the life and struggle of American Blacks, to help Black people learn to love themselves in an attempt, he says, to teach people how to be both unapologetically Black and Christian at the same time. That's what I'm pushing for. I want to be unapologetically Black, Seventh-day Adventist Christian, all at the same time, and then be able to come to the table and contribute what I have, what we have come up with as our expression, to bring that to the table and have it accepted, not meandered or middled with, to say, well, that's kind of demonic and that's problematic and that's not what Jesus wants. And so I am all for diversity and inclusion too, but I want to come to the table with our unique expression of Christianity and have that accepted and not demonized. And I don't fully believe in our Seventh-day Adventist context we've been given that liberty and latitude.
You know what, when you say this is so exciting, and I'm looking online, it's just, popping, people are, liking and identifying with this. And I do too. This speaks to my heart. And the reason why I'm pressing you on what that looks like is because I feel like we are in a season right now where it is a protest season. I'm tired of this. I'm done with this. From everything that we see in the news to just our own personal experience. And I get that, and I'm good with this. I guess I'm also yearning for the definition of solution. Because as you have said, maybe I've grown up into a certain thing, maybe evolved with a certain thing, but I want a crisp articulation about what my contribution is and how it works and how it is effective. Because what I'm hearing you say is that, when you walk down the street in your gear in North Philly and you can talk to people and people can talk to you, that's not something that anybody else is doing. And at least not effectively. It's not happening. And I'm gonna tell you, for me, I identify with it. I'm not as good as you. But
you good. You good, Doc. Wait, I'm not gonna take that. You good now. Come on now.
Well, I'm just saying, the Lord allowed me, and I want to hear about your experience as well, but the Lord allowed me to go through some experiences where I'm sitting across from the table with people who are in trouble with the law, and people who have receded, you know what I mean? Or people who cannot come out of that system. And to be able to come across and just talk at that level. This is not me up here. This is not you down here. This is not me not understanding your context. This is me wanting to reach across and say, hey, look, how can we go forward? And so for me, that is the conversation. I get so frustrated because I see every weekend people talking about, this is what they're doing to us. And this is what somebody has kept us from doing. We have every opportunity to articulate what this should be and participate in self-determination. And that's what I want to hear about.
Well, I would like to challenge that and push back on that, because
push back.
Right? Do we? Like idealistically, that sounds good, but the reality is the system that America created is not broken. It's working perfectly because it was created for white people by white people. And so when you say we have self-determinism, do we? Do we really? And we have to stop.
I didn't say that though. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you're saying right now. I just don't want you to go down the road thinking.
Okay, no, I was coming back, but I definitely wanted to dispel the mythology and the mythos that we have the ability to be self-determining. Right? There are so many barriers, and we've heard all the analogies, so I don't want to go into that. But here is where I want to land for you, Carmela. Is that what is the unique expression of Blackness in America? What is that? Right? So there have been eras and epochs where we saw the Black Power movement of the 60s, where the Soul Sisters wore their afros and they wore their bell bottoms and their colorful outfits, and Isley Brothers, Say It Loud, Black and Proud was the music and what gave the soundscape of our background. But guess what? Afros were not being accepted in white churches and in white spaces led by white people. Colorful outfits were not being accepted by white people in white churches and white spaces. That the sound of music music that might sound a little Isley Brother-esque, a little black, I'm black and I'm proud, was demonized by white people in white spaces and white churches. So we repudiated it and we threw it away. And then some weirdo named Cool Herc from Jamaica had the unmitigated gall to set up some turntables in Queens one day and start making this thing called hip hop up, right? I mean, excuse me, in the Bronx. I don't want anybody to question my hip hop card, right? In the Bronx.
I know.
Watch it.
Right, in the Bronx. And so then we create this hip hop movement, right, where it gives us a culture of the way that we dress, the way that we talk. And we try to bring that over into white spaces in white houses to white people. And they say, no, that's demonic. The beats are, and so guess what? Immediately, just like in the Black Power movement of the 60s, there were a bunch of Black people who said, nah, I'm cool off of y'all. And we'll go not to the Adventist churches, we'll go to the Baptist churches or the AME churches where we can be unapologetically Black, whereas we didn't have that latitude in our space. And so when you ask me what it looks like our ability to infuse into our Christian expression, our culture that we created when we had nothing else. White people in America during slavery gave us the pig entrails. We turned it into a delicacy called chitlins and hog maws. They gave us the lard from it. We took that stuff, boiled it down, threw some chicken in it and made fried chicken. But now, oh no, don't do that, or that's going to, and it's like, I want a space. And what I am arguing for is the ability to say the unique culture that Africans have created in this diaspora, we want to infuse that into our expression of our beliefs. And we don't want to be demonized for it or be told we're going to hell, because at the end of the day, Christianity in America is a product of manifest destiny, which killed every indigenous person it came into contact with.
That's good, man. The thing that I'm thinking of now, perfect segue. You have Bishop Walter Scott Thomas.
Yeah.
Howard John Wesley.
Come on up in here.
W. Franklin with a Y. Richards. Okay. How is it that we're talking about evangelism and an authentic
Well, you knew where she was going with that. Go ahead.
I do. There you go. How you back?
How are we talking about an authentic Blackness within Adventism?
Oh, you good.
Baptists and African Methodist Episcopalians, and talk to me about that. How are we building that?
That's a great question. That's a great question, because what happened is back in the early days of the Baptist church, when the Southern Baptist Convention dominated the Baptist landscape, Black people said, you don't care about us. We're going to start our own thing. It's called the National Baptist Convention. During the time in Philly, I was going to say here because I just got back to Cali. I was in Philly. During the time when Black people in Philadelphia were going to white churches and told they had to sit up in the balcony, the African Methodist Episcopalian Church said, we're going to do our own thing because you don't care about us. And so they have been doing this for so much longer than we have. I thought it not robbery to do what the rich history and legacy of the Seventh-day Adventist Church tells us we should do, which is learn from other people. We didn't get the 7-day Sabbath from out of the Bible. No, we got it from a young lady by the name of Rachel, who came and said, hey, do y'all know about the Sabbath? We didn't get the health message from out of our own minds. No, there were people doing the temperance movement that we went over and borrowed that from. We didn't even get our eschatological views from Seventh-day Adventists. No, we got it from Millerites who were Methodists. And so what I'm doing is I'm saying, look, let's look at the people who've been doing it well for a long period of time, and let's see if we can't learn something from them. When you talk about Bishop Walter Scott Thomas, my pastor, Bishop Walter Scott Thomas got to his church. There was less than 200 people. Now, there were 2,000 people on the books. He told us that, but he has grown his church to 16,000 people. And I remember getting a call from Bishop Thomas. It was early January. Claudia. And he said, hey, Marquis, now keep this quiet. Where are you at on a particular date? And I said, oh, let me check. And as I'm checking, he said, well, check, because what I need you to do is I need you to send me yours and Rhonda's information, because we're doing a special program at New Psalmist. Now, listen to me carefully, because I can't go into detail. It's called From King to Obama, The Realization of the Dream. And I was like, And he said, so I need your number. I need all y'all information because I want you to be there. And I said, oh, Bishop, that's our anniversary weekend. He's like, oh, well, I was calling you. And in that moment, let me give you another example of who Bishop Walter Scott Thomas is, right? One day he calls me, he says, Marquis, I just met another Seventh-day Adventist pastor. I said, who? I said, who? He said, Devon Franklin. And I said, oh, well, Devon not really a pastor, you know what I mean? But I mean, he's a dope guy and he is something. I said, but where'd you meet him? Now, watch this. Don't miss this. I don't want you to be drinking, Carmela, because you liable to spit. I said, I said, Bishop, oh, that's dope. Where did you meet Devon Franklin? He said, oh, over at Oprah's house. I had to put my phone down.
Yo.
I literally put my phone down. I said,
wait, it's like,
yeah, I was like, hold on. Like, what? You don't just throw around Oprah's house. You don't just throw around, I'm doing a program.
Ain't none of us sitting around at Oprah's house.
Nobody.
Chilling with Oprah. Devon came through, you know, Megan.
But listen, also to speak to Bishop Thomas's cultural impact, right? When Elijah Cummings passed last year, the funeral was at New Psalmist Baptist.
Yeah.
And so Bill Clinton and Obama and the Bushes were on the front row at New Psalmist Baptist and Bishop Thomas. So that's the kind of mind I need to. How in the world do you get to a church in 1975 with 100 people in it, 2,000 on the books, and over the next 30 to 40, 50 years, you grow it to where now when Elijah Cummings died, you are the person presiding over his funeral. You talk about W. Franklin Richardson. W. Franklin Richardson for 13 years was the general secretary of the National Baptist Convention. Again, I want to hear from a person who was at the helm of the convention that broke away from the Southern Baptist Convention, right? And he's now the director, the chair of the National Conference of Black Churches, right?
Oh yeah, that's
no, not just now. That's his social justice wing. I'm talking about what he does as a pastor. You see what I'm saying?
Wow.
And so here we see somebody like yo, Claude, you were on, because Claudia was on last night. The man said to us, again, hold your breath, don't drink nothing. He was talking about as they were planning the National Action Network, right? As they were planning the 57th anniversary march on Washington, D.C. to commemorate the I Have a Dream speech, et cetera, right? And he says, so yeah, man, we were going to pull out, Martin Luther King III was like going to pull out, and Sharpton was like, because people were afraid about the spread of COVID. So, I got on the phone with Fauci again.
Literally. When he and the thing, Keith, when he said it, Carmela, I really want you to watch the playback, because the way this man was,
it was like, I was on the phone
in his house, like sitting at his chair, he was just like, yeah, so we got Fauci on the phone and we were really talking with him through, and I was just like, bro, what? you just talking about, like, you can just talk to Fauci, like, how is that a thing?
But okay, no, see, I hear
and so Carmela,
what you're saying.
And so Carmela, here's what I want to anchor. I want to land on this. And so when I'm trying to figure out how do we as Black Seventh-day Adventists, where we are in all of the major cities with major Black populations, but we don't have a church that is impacting, influencing, woven into the fabric of not only the community, but also the civic aspect of governing those cities. I want to get to the table with people who can tell me how they've been able to navigate it so that we can express our Adventism and garner the same amount of influence.
I get you. Tell me, how did he get there? How did he get to the point where he's got Fauci on the phone and he's influential? Because you said that you're going.
Oh yeah, that's a good question. See, here's the thing that I have to go back to the first thing I said. He's been cultivating those relationships. He's been incarnational. He's been unapologetically Black, and he has been here's the word, attractive to Black people as they come from the bottom and get upwardly mobile and so back into his organization, which gets him at the table. And he's been doing that for almost 40 years. Here is the problem when we exist in a context so closely aligned with Eurocentricity. We have not been able to garner the same amount of influence. Although we as a regional conference have been in existence for several decades, the reality is we have allowed we have allowed, and was it you who did this? No, it was Ingram London who talked about how we reoriented our opinion of who the beast power was so that we could be more ecumenical. And so what has happened is we haven't, since we started our regional conferences, we haven't been intentional, and I mean militant, in saying we are Black, get off of us, and we're going to make sure that we sow into people like Carmela, who becomes a lawyer, who we then put her in civic arenas. We're going to make sure we sow into Black entrepreneurs who are doing things like Black hair care products, and instead of trying to tell them blah, 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 Black doctors, boom, 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 so that when we now are in Philly, when we're in Chicago, when we're in Bed-Stuy, we're like Floyd Flake in Bed-Stuy. We're like Bishop Thomas in Baltimore. We're like those people because we've cultivated the Black genius that comes out of our churches. We've sown into them so that when they come back from school, as Dr. Bird pointed out on the first night of Next NormalX, they don't typically come back to those Black churches. They don't typically come back. Well, what happens when Bishop Thomas sows into somebody's life and they go off to Harvard, they come back and start returning their tithe and offerings at his church. And so what I'm saying is we have missed the mark for the existence of our regional conferences to cultivate the influence that would have had us at the table probably a decade and a half or 2 decades ago.
All right. Is it too late? That's what I'm.
No. Wait. And watch Claudia. And here comes the Next NormalX.
Okay. Here's where I am. First of all, where were you 20 some years ago when I went to law school? Maybe I wouldn't still have loans. Okay.
Come on now.
But anyway.
Come on now.
It's a joke, but it's true. You're right.
Yeah.
Come on, yeah. I know. And Claudia's like, oh yeah, let's talk now. Okay.
No. Look, all of us are like, let's talk now. I got student loan debt.
But so, I love where you're going with this. And you were just saying, how do we do this? And I keep hammering this because I believe there are just a million, just like there's a million stories out there. Mm-hmm. There's a million ways to get it. And I want to know the nexus between your experience and your history and where you are now. So that's this strong right now. You Black and everything like this. How did you get this, given the fact that we even a little off sometimes?
Carmela, first of all, thank you. That was a brilliant question because it gives me the opportunity to say this, because the passion that I speak with is because, and I want to be careful here because I don't want to say that somebody did something to me necessarily, but I made a series of decisions based on the theology I was taking in to repudiate my own Pan-Africanism. Right. So before I became a Seventh-day Adventist, I was hyper Black. You hear me? Like
more than now?
Huh?
You mean more than now?
Yes. I was very, and see, the reason why I was more radical then, because I wasn't concerned about losing a paycheck.
Okay.
Right. So let's keep it a stack. So before I came into this church, I was into Yosef Ben Yakin and John Henry Clark, John G. Jackson, Walter Williams. That's what was on my bookshelf. Right. I didn't have anything from any white people on my bookshelf. I didn't want to hear nothing from any white people. But then I accepted Christ. And in Jesus, there's neither Jew nor Gentile, free nor bond, women nor female, right? And I started saying, okay, well, let me, and I came in ultra conservative. I think Carmela and you and I have talked about this in the past of how I came in. And it was the pendulum swing I believe I needed at the time because I lacked some discipline. And so I came into a very, what I believe, militaristic expression of Adventism, like hard right, shine my shoes, suit, tie, strap, white shirt, you know what I mean? And I began to conform to what I was being told was the true expression of Christianity, which was a Eurocentric expression of Christianity, right? And so I come off the streets, I'm lockstep with the rest of the soldiers that's in that movement that I was a part of, that really I bless God for it because I learned Ellen White, I learned all of our doctrines, I learned all of that. I'm conversant in the nitty gritty of Ellen White, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I threw out all of my Pan-African books. I threw out my Walter Williams. I threw out my Sheikh Anta Diop. I threw out my John G. Jackson. I threw out all of that stuff and I started replacing it with Hiram Edson, he didn't write any books, but J. N. Andrews, Joseph Bates, Ellen G. White, and all of this stuff, right? That's what I started taking in and putting into my mind. And so then what happens is I'm on the West Coast. I came into the church on the West Coast. And Carmela, out here, there is no such thing as regional conferences, right? There are regional departments. So in a regional department, there is very few places for an expression of Blackness, right? Like a right? So then all of a sudden, you know, I get out to North Carolina. I get out to West Virginia. I'm still more conservative, Black Seventh-day Adventists. And then, Lord have mercy, I land at Oakwood University.
Come on.
And I go to AY. And I'm like, wait. So the first tension I had to resolve was Black conferences. I thought this was the Church of Jesus Christ. I thought there was neither Jew nor Gentile, bond nor free. I thought there was neither male nor black. What is the Black conferences? What is that? Right. So I had to get acclimated to that. And then early on in my growth, I met Carlton Bird, who was arguing for churches being centers of influence, right? And what he was doing in Atlanta Berean, and I was like, yo, that's very Baptist, right? That don't sound like right. And so then I start to grow, and so then I come out of Oakwood, I land in Maryland under Pastor Brenda Billingy, who when I left there, I took her daughter with me,
yes,
right? And so
get back to that one. So go ahead.
but here's again what happens is, and Claudia talked about me being her mentor, but this young lady is brilliant, right? And so I didn't realize it then, but something was being activated in me because I was watching how my senior pastor was being treated by this white Anglo-Saxon patriarchal system. And it was breaking my heart, right? And as the callus around my Pan-African heart began to break because of what they was doing to my mother-in-law, that activated something in me, right? And around the time we then started to see again the proliferation of Black young men being shot down in the streets and it being videotaped. And I'm listening to the leadership of the denomination who is maligning my mother-in-law, my then senior pastor, issue statements that are laughable at best and disrespectful to God at worst. And it's cracking something in me and it's breaking something in me. And I go, okay, wait, hold on. And so one day, one person got shot. Claus, I think he was in the congregation. And I just went off. Somebody got shot. I just went off, Carmela. I went off. And I wasn't trying to get likes and viral shares. And I didn't care about that. I went off. You hear me? And that thing just, boom, it went around. And it went around long enough and got back to me. And it was like God brought me face to face with the person I used to be. And then I have the nerve to get assigned to Philadelphia, 5th largest city in the nation with the 4th largest concentration of Negroes, right? Right. And it was there. And it was so over the time now I'm getting back to Black. I'm getting back to Black. And I'm confrontational just by nature. Right. So the more and more somebody pushes up against me, the more and more I'm like, well, what you gonna do? Right? What you gonna do? Right. And so when I got to Philly, people with tattoos, because that's part of African-American culture in America in the inner cities, were coming to my church. I wasn't telling them take off your tattoos and take off your jewelry and all of that. I'm preaching the gospel. I'm allowing them to belong before they believe, with the hopes that maybe some point they might believe. I'm in the community giving free dental and free vision to people who can't afford it. I'm now woven into the fabric of the city where I'm on the sheriff's faith-based council. I'm sitting in city council. I got the commissioner of the fire department because I saw what I could be if I was unapologetically hip hop and Black in a Black setting. And then that was the last thing that cracked. And I said, oh yeah, I'm Black and I'm not going to apologize anymore for it. And I could speak to some of the things that I think were negative, but I don't have to do that because I'm looking at what God is doing through Next NormalX. Right. And so that's the nexus. That's the journey that I said I came in crazy. Right. And I've been, Carmela, as long as you know me, I've been crazy. Right. And so that's the answer to your question.
Yeah, my mom's watching right now. She remembers when you were in Columbus and she's lighting the thing up. And I wish Mom. Okay. No, anyway, my mother is in here because Marquis Johns, you were there in Columbus for a while.
Yeah.
And you're teaching and preaching and showing people how we get out there. And it's really exciting. And Claudia right here, she embodies that honest, strong, unapologetically who we are. The next, I won't even say emerging. She is here. She is our mentor as well. I'm looking
Well,
at
Claudia,
the way she's dressed, and she's got this thing on.
well, Carmela, I want to say something to that. I appreciate the accolades and what you're saying to us, but I do not neglect that we stand on shoulders like yours. A Black woman, double minority, who went to law school, who's now the editor-in-chief of one of the oldest Black publications in the nation. That's nothing to be sneezed at either, man.
First
So
woman.
I'm not. Yeah, first woman, first African. So I'm not going. We don't do. And this is another thing that I'm trying not to. Right. We don't do this if we don't remember where we came from, right? I try to tell my son, I'll be like, Negro, you're going to sit down and watch Roots. Dad, I don't want to see my people like that. I said, but if you don't see them like that, you won't realize the opportunities you're getting, right? And so thank you. I'm sure I speak for Claudia and myself and how you applaud us, but what you went through to become who you are, we celebrate you too, Carmela. We celebrate you as well.
Thanks. I appreciate it. But I think that we're gonna, it's just, we're on the cusp of something. We're not on the cusp. We're in the middle of something. Yeah. And you're right. There's this moment is speaking to us, and I really want to know where you're going with this, Claudia. And you're probably asking that question. I know, so I'll leave it. I'll let you answer. Where we're going next?
Where are we going, Keith?
So first of all, we had to start a conversation where we started saying, look, if you want to hear from Black people how to be unapologetically Black and Christian at the same time, come to Next NormalX. That's really what it was. If you want to hear from people, about how to be unapologetically Black and Christian at the same time, how to be unapologetically Black and Seventh-day Adventist Christian at the same time, come hear this stuff. So on the first day, we talked about, I pulled out, like, again, everybody that was at Next NormalX got a phone call from me. I got relationships. I leveraged all my relationships the same way I did with you, Carmela. And so on the first day, we had Abraham Jules, 35 years of evangelistic experience. We had Carlton Bird, the speaker director, Breath of Life Television Ministries, Jesse Wilson, the director of Pastoral Evangelism Leadership Council, and some little bald head boy called Marquis Johns, right? And we talked about the past, present, and future of Black evangelism in Seventh-day Adventist Church. And the thing that rang true from every one of those individuals was we need to revisit our financial structure. Right, we got to revisit how monies and funds are being distributed. I say this with I want to be careful, Carmela, because I don't know what you deal with on a day-to-day basis, but Review and Herald as a publication or Advent Review, what they're able to do based on the resources they get, stop trying to make message that. Right? Let message be what message is, or give message all of the resources that Advent Review got. Right? And if you're not, don't come at us ever talking about shutting us down until you're going to give us back what we've sown into you, because the Black people doing evangelism on the level that we've done it has saved this church. But then what happens, because we perpetuate a Eurocentric expression of Christianity, our Black millennials and young people and upwardly mobile individuals go over to the white churches because they feel like the white churches have the subsidies to the white Adventist schools, even though they're in the same conference with a Black church. That's foolishness. That's foolishness. And we need to challenge them on that, right? And we need to stop being told every time we bring that up that we're being divisive. Okay, well then guess what? Jesus came not to send peace, but a sword. Right? So
part of these conversations have to always, I'd be embarrassed every time, every week when we get down, we talking about the organization that I work with and our money. But you know what? When you say that, okay, I'm being transparent, I get embarrassed. Yeah. But here's what I find and what I'm learning. I've been reading about, Stacey Abrams' book, and she, talking about voter suppression, right? And how voter suppression has changed, where you have this top-down feel where they quash what you're doing, poll taxes, literacy taxes, and literacy tests, I should say. But now the conversation is flipped. So it doesn't feel top-down. What is effective at suppressing the vote also looks like user error. Right. And so so now I'm embarrassed and I'm ashamed, or I feel uncomfortable because my thing got lost in the mail, or I didn't get counted, or I can't get to the polling place. And I'm hearing by analogy what you're saying, even though I'm embarrassed, but what we're saying is addressing a larger context in which the same thing is happening. It just it's not articulated the same. And so I hope I'm making sense. And so now rather than talking about embarrassment, I guess what we're saying is we need to find a way to do this in our authentic context and to our people. and to be able to have the funding and the resources to do this the way we do that is very important.
Absolutely. And and I'm sure that Claudia got some questions, but y'all know me, I could talk, right? And so that brings me to this, right? And so what the point I was about to make with that is we keep being held to a standard where the goal line is always being moved. So there's a young man out in Atlanta, Georgia, by the name of Jamal Bryant. He gets down there, he starts doing stuff like he wants to do stuff because ain't nobody telling him what to do. And I'm looking at that, I'm going, this is who we could be if I didn't have to worry about somebody telling me I've offended their caucasity. Right? This is what we could be doing if we wasn't worried about somebody saying, you know, he went and made the Black House and made a Black credit union. This man blocked up the freeways where human trafficking was taking place. And I'm like, yo, this is what we could be doing. And he didn't do that because he'd been in Atlanta for 50 years. He just got to Atlanta 18 months ago, right? But we are being held to a standard where the goalpost keeps being moved. And when we try to do things like we want to do them, it's also in our minds that we have to kill that, because the way you say you're embarrassed about some of the conversations, I embarrass people being unapologetically Black. And so then they want to put distance between me and them. Right? They want to say, oh, he's too radical, or he's not system. He's not like us. Nah, y'all shouldn't be like y'all.
Yeah. Man, yo, Keith, we could talk all day, man.
All day.
And this has been great. You know, I think, like you all said, I was a part of the Next NormalX. And so when I watched it, you know, the first night and then was on last night and watched, I really do feel like something's stirring. I feel like something is stirring, and I'm excited that we're basically kind of trying to encourage everybody to have the opportunity to be who they really are, and to engage in ministry in a way that's really authentic to them, but also to go outside of yourself and build relationships that you normally wouldn't. You know, one of the things, Carmela, that came to my mind last night when Dr. Richardson was talking, he was talking about building relationships with businesses and corporations, and the amount of work that's necessary in order to be able to do that, but also that's possible. You know, it's like, and so it's like, you know, there are things that, you know, we haven't even thought of, you know, when it comes to, you know, whether that be fundraising or community partnerships. You know, we have a tendency to think, let me find another nonprofit. Let me find another church. Let me find another this. And that's cool too. They're not knocking that at all. It's like, we got to do that work as well as who are the foundations and the corporations and the different things that we need to be, you know, looking at and into and whatnot. And so I think that, you know, if we have done anything, you know, this morning, we have just simply tried to have a conversation to spark your interest, blow your mind, and ultimately pull you back, because tonight is the last night for the Next NormalX. And so if you happen to miss the first two, you don't want to miss tonight. Okay. And so I will be sure to drop the link in the comments for you guys, but you really want to make sure that you tune in. So Marquis, how can people watch? How can people engage with the finale this evening?
Oh, that's dope. One of the things I did that I saw happen as a result of where we are is the you know, young men like Austin Humphreys, Kyle Crawford, and James Doggett Jr., who were put in starter districts, who are now at the forefront of our Black denomination because of how they harness technology in this time of COVID-19, right? Sure. And so we are everywhere. So if you normally watch Recharge Worship, we're on Recharge Worship. If you will normally watch Quarantine Revival, we're on Quarantine Revival. I reached out to several friends of mine across the regional work, and they are generating a unique stream from their churches. And so we have churches in South Central Conference that are generating South Central and Central States and Northeastern, Allegheny West, Allegheny East, Northeastern, Southeastern. We have churches in each one of them that are generating a stream. So if you follow any one of those streams, New Beginnings in Central States, Allen Chapel in Central States, Faith Church in Connecticut with Dr. Ricardo Delahaye, Cambridge Church in Boston, Mount Sinai in Jersey, new beginnings in Baltimore. So there are streams being generated from those, but we're also streaming from our own Black Ministries page here in Southeastern California Conference. So we're everywhere. I wanted to again foster and continue to foster that concept of collaboration because I think that's another thing that is us, that is uniquely Black. So you can get in. You don't want to miss tonight. Dr. Akuya Boateng is going to talk about mental health issues of our communities and how we harness Black theology to reach them. Dr. Carlton Bird is going to talk about partnering with non-religious, non-Seventh-day Adventist organizations for community engagement and development. And Brenda Billingsley is going to talk about prayer as a spiritual heritage of Black people and how to use that during evangelism to connect with Black people. So you don't want to miss tonight, 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern time, the Next NormalX. Holla at your boy.
Can we go back and see the rest of the ones
Yes,
from previous
yes.
week?
So the first night we had to pull down because we had some technical difficulties that we wanted to edit out. Last night is up on any of those sites. Austin Humphreys and Kagia Scott's Now Worship, Kyle Smith and Meshach's Recharge Worship, JD's Quarantine Revival, our own Black Ministries page from Southeastern California Conference. And as I said, a variety of churches across the regional work all have that stream in their archives.
Man, Marquis, thank you so much for your time, just for talking with us, sharing with us your story, your passion, and what you feel like God is calling all of us to in this season and in the next to come. Carmela, we've got some really dope stuff lined up ourselves. Could you tell these people about the telethon that you had to tell me about? So you can, I give you permission to show my age.
Oh my goodness. First of all, much love and much respect to you, Marquis Johns.
Thank you, Doc.
You stir something inside our hearts today, and people are just, this is already, stuff is changing now within us. And yeah, you know, back in the day when I was a kid, every year they would have what they call a telethon to raise funds. Okay, we're not doing a telethon anymore, but it's like a Zoomathon, you know what I mean? We're on social media.
I remember.
Do you remember, Claudia?
I remember telethons.
We had to talk to Claudia about what a telethon meant.
Jerry Lewis.
I came in and I said, I am so willing and able. What is that?
And so anyway, we're going to, you talk about self-determination. This is our opportunity to raise funds so that we can get into the community and do mission the way we do mission, ministry the way we do it, is with our unique packaging. And so message Tuesday, September 29, from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. I still think it's Eastern Daylight Time. Live streaming on Facebook and YouTube, just like we are now with Claudia will be there at the table. I'll be at the table. All the people that you mentioned, or I should say, Carlton Bird will be with us. Our people, Willie and Elaine Oliver, Donna Green Goodman, all of our major contributors, as well as some special guests that are coming in, special musical guests that will come to join with us tonight and celebrate this ministry that has been around for more than 120 years, doing unique ministry to Black people, by Black people, for Black people, because we believe there's a difference in what it is we're trying to do. And we believe God is going to further this work. So I hope you guys come through.
Man, as always, guys, it is a pleasure to be here with you. Marquis, how can they follow you? Before I close this thing out, I almost forgot.
At Dr. Johns on Instagram, at Dr. Johns on Twitter, and Marquis D. Johns on Facebook and LinkedIn. But, you know, just pray for your boy, and God will tell you where I'm at.
I love it. I love it. Listen, guys, as always, it has been an amazing conversation. You guys have just been loving and liking this whole time. So we know that this touched you in a deep place. We know that you got some encouragement, some direction in an area that you are passionate about. And that's what we try to do here at What's the Message. You know, as I always say, this is the space where we try to find the hope in the headlines. And so, as you all know, this, the headline that we're seeing is that we are in COVID. We are in a protest season. Like Carmela said, we are in a space and a phase where there is a lot of conflict and a lot of worry and a lot of, we have to do things differently. And so there is a new normal, and a better phrase is that there is a next normal, and there is a next normal for all of us professionally, for all of us within our families, for all of us within our individual spiritual lives, within our relationships. And what is of encouragement is that there is also a next normal for how we do church. There's a next normal for how we're going to do evangelism. And so the beauty is that whether you are clergy or a lay person, there is a next normal for you, where we are trying to say, who are you at your most authentic core? And how can you, at your most authentic core, share the love of Jesus Christ, share the gospel of Jesus Christ in a way that does not just do some Bible studies or something, but in a way that literally transforms a person's life holistically, in a way that lifts them up economically, in a way that positions them civically and socially. That's what we are trying to really encourage for you to do. And we believe that the conversation is just beginning. We have these conversations every week at What's the Message? And now the Next NormalX is another format, another platform that's taking the conversation to another level. So make sure, we've got the link right there. It's pinned in the comments. Make sure you visit that link. Make sure you tune in tonight, 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern time on YouTube and on a variety of Facebook platforms. Now, as you all know, this does not happen without Message Magazine. What's the Message is a podcast hosted and sponsored by Message Magazine. And so if you love this podcast, we need you to like the page. Many of you have written me on the Facebook saying, Claudia, how can I get notifications about the next podcast? Sis, sir, you gotta like the page, okay? If you like the page, you'll get notified every single time we post and every single time we create an event. Facebook will automatically write you and say, listen, hey, you will like this, okay? So if you want anything that is going to notify you about our events, about our posts, about our articles, about our initiatives, you've got to like our Facebook page, all right? If you like our Facebook page, then you will get all the notifications in the world. And so just know, it's not just about following us right here on Facebook or Instagram or on Twitter at Message1898. You've got to subscribe to the website. You've got to sign up. Put your email right there in our website and make sure you're getting our weekly newsletter. That's another really great way for you to stay in contact and notified about all of our content. Because remember, we have a powerful bi-monthly print magazine that does not get put out digitally. Saints of the Most High, okay? There is fantastic content in the print issue. There are recipes, articles, interviews. I mean, we literally had an interview, Carmela did, with Lucy Bath, okay? Now, those of you who may not know her, that is the Macbeth. That is the mother of Jordan Davis, correct?
Yes.
That's the mother of Jordan Davis, and she has just recently become a congresswoman, all right? There is stuff in there that I'm telling you, if you love what we do here on What's the Message, if you love the stuff that we're publishing and posting online, it goes even deeper and gets even better in the print issue. So make sure that you visit our website at www.messagemagazine.com. Subscribe to our bi-monthly print issue of the magazine. I'm telling you, you are going to be blessed. All right. So make sure you're following us on everything. We want you to have the print magazine. We want you to be able to get the Bible studies. Know that Message Magazine circulates in prisons. So when you donate to Message Magazine, you are ensuring that the ministry of Message Magazine is going throughout the country, but specifically to incarcerated persons and their families. So if you really care about social justice, if you care about the stuff that we've been talking about today, there are plenty of opportunities for you to really dive in and support what we're doing here at Message so that we can continue to do it and continue to do it even better. All right. So visit our website, www.messagemagazine.com. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Message1898. And of course, go to the YouTube channel. If you've got that auntie, that uncle, that parent that does not have a Facebook and they can't watch us live, this goes up on YouTube probably today or tomorrow. And so this is, an awesome platform with phenomenal content where we're just trying to give you something that is going to inform you and inspire you as you go along on your journey from day to day as a Black Christian here in America. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for spending your Thursday morning with us as always. And we look forward to seeing all of you next week. Remember, it's the same time, same place, just a different conversation. I'll see you then.
Claudia, I think the one other thing that we have to remember,
our behavior is definitely influenced or impacted by,
I'm a Seventh-day Adventist, and we know that
decided that with the powers of Zoom and the like, we can still
the eating of certain animals.
Headlines. I am your host, Claudia Allen. This is my chief executive.
Right. So many churches are actually
80% of the affiliates, ABC affiliates here in the United States, picked it up.
Not telling the truth and going back to let's just dip this water up.
Issues. And so we live our lives working. If you think about
brother from another mother, the pastor, Richard, Mark, and I'm telling you, we handle the heavy stuff. We do the heavy stuff.